Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my presentation. My name is Rosemary Henderson, and the topic of my presentation today is Little Women. The reason that this topic is useful for you is to help you look to the future by learning the secrets of using the content of literature to change your lives in positive and effective ways. We're going to talk about three things, and these are, firstly, I'll discuss the literary time period. Secondly, I will introduce you to a number of significant authors of the time and some of the major literary works developed and ceaseless in their value. And finally, we're going to look at a heroine in the literature, Little Women, authored by Louisa May Alcott in the year 1868. Due to the limited time I have, 3 to 5 minutes, I request that you ask your questions at the end of my presentation. Firstly, I will summarize the literary time period. The literary period falls in the American Romantic time. In addition to my chosen author, Alcott, other famous names of that time were Herman Melville, famous for Moby Dick, Nathaniel Hawthorne for The Scarlet Letter, and the poet James Russell Lowell for The Parable and many other poems, and of course, Emily Dickinson, who has countless poems that cannot even be mentioned. The time period became known for imagination, individuality, and the innate ability of man to look at his past and find wisdom. Works of the time are also filled with the common man becoming the hero, and with nature being seen as a source of spirituality. The historical time period was one of many changes. The Romantic time period overlaps the time of the Civil War. Although love may be intertwined in works of the American Romantic period, Romantic refers more to the philosophical changes happening at the time. Imagination was considered to be the driving force in most of any kind that developed. Emotion and oneself was considered to be an important part of any works created. New England was experiencing a trend toward transcendentalism, which attempted to create a less restrictive relationship between God and the universe. In fact, the author of my chosen book was exposed to transcendentalism from her father, Bronson Alcott. Many of the authors of the time were also involved in that movement, including Henry David Thoreau, Emily Dickinson, and Ralph Waldo Emerson. This time of change allowed authors to write more freely and with fewer restrictions as well. And lastly, I will move to the third point, which is about my heroine, Jo March of Little Women. Jo is introduced as a selfish young lady in the first sentence of the book. "Christmas won't be Christmas without any presents," grumbled Jo, lying on the rug. As the story unfolds, Jo goes through a metamorphosis as she learns from the many life experiences how precious life can be. In one way, Jo represents all of the women of the time. She is young, and her father is away at war. She is a crucial part of the survival of the family and their way of life. She must learn to mend clothes, clean a house, and continue to be educated by her mother, Marmee. Jo is not like other young ladies of the time in that she is very opinionated and outspoken. She is a tomboy and acts as such by running and playing much as the boys do. In fact, she is angry that she can't go fight the war with her father, and she often wishes she were a boy. She does not enjoy the things women of the time enjoyed, such as dressing up, visiting friends, and attending balls. It is actually those characteristics that develop her into a heroine. Based on parts of the author's own life, this novel carries over into becoming an influence for the key women fighting for equality for women in our country. In conclusion, in this presentation, my objective was to present the significance of the book of my choice, Little Women. I have covered 3 points. Firstly, I summarized the American Romantic literary time period and highlighted a few of the authors and their famous works. Secondly, I talked about important historical events and changes of that particular era. Finally, I discussed the heroine of my book of choice, describing key concepts and character traits that developed her into the heroine she became. I hope you found this presentation useful. Thank you so much for your time and your attendance. If you have any questions, please. If there are no questions, that is the end of my presentation.